Start, if you please will, by putting your name on this piece of paper so I can give you some easy points for writing these things down. Go ahead and put that there at the top for me. Also, please make a note of the fact that you are in an Art 2 class, exclamation point. Thank you so much for being in Art 2 instead of Art 1. Okay, title. I want you to write Grid System Review. Of course, it's a review because you've already been taught how to use the grid system, but I want to give a few reminders before we start this valuable project. Okay, notation number 1, measure correctly. Of course, it's important to make the right measurements when measuring your grid. And we're going to use the same grid measurements that we did in Art 1. And in parentheses, if you'll make a note, that it's going to be a 1.5 inch grid. So it'll be very familiar to you. Okay, notation number 2. I want you to write light grid. Once again, at the end, we want to be able to erase the grid completely, leaving no evidence that we use the grid system. Anybody who sees your work, we don't want them to know that it was a grid system drawing. So I need you to draw light when measuring your grid. Okay, number 3, little asterisk star next to it. Now the grid system has an important key, a little secret. You practiced this for me last year, and again we'll work with it in Art 2 also. And I want you to write finish 1, circle that number, 1 square at a time. So I want you to draw all the lines in 1 square, making sure the square is completely finished before moving on to a new square. If you follow that rule, it always works out really nice for you. Okay, number 4. Light lines. Make this grid drawing really light. We're going to ink this grid drawing later. And it's more difficult for the ink to stick to a heavy layer of lead. So if you make your lines really black and heavy, it's more likely that the ink will smear. So keep your lines nice and light. Don't make them too dark. Try to avoid that. Number 5. Now, on each of the projects, there is a circle, a circular background, and I want you to ignore that in pencil. That means don't draw it, don't worry about it, ignore it completely. So, notation number 5, I want you to write no circle. We will worry about the circle later, and we'll use a mechanical device, not a compass, by the way, to draw that circle so that it looks really round and professional. But for right now, don't worry about it. Number 6, I've already mentioned this, but I want you to write erase grid. So, we need that grid to be invisible at the end. As I mentioned previously, people who look at your artwork, we don't want them to know that it was a grid drawing. Okay, number 7, question. Why? Question mark. Why are students assigned grid drawings in junior high? Well, the grid drawing does something for a young artist, and it's very helpful, useful, and we'll practice this to develop these certain skills. Okay, indent. Okay. The grid drawing helps to train your eyes. So I want you to write down eye. So it's a way for us to train your eye to see something accurately and then draw it. Continuing. B. Write down this word. Observation. In junior high, in foundational classes, you will mostly work on your observational drawing skills. We've done that with simple shapes drawings, we've done that with still life drawings, and we will do that with grid drawings. The goal of all three of those types of drawings is this: indent, see, and I want you to write accuracy. Whether you are drawing simple shapes from a handout, whether you're making a still life drawing, or whether you're making a grid drawing, the main goal is to draw it accurately just as you see it. Finally, D, fun, exclamation point. Grid drawings are fun, they're easy, and students feel successful at them, especially if you follow notation number 3, finishing one square at a time. So, now that you've been reviewed, let's go ahead and try another grid drawing in Art 2.